I was watching TV the other day, and this show comes on with these religious fanatics. They were crazy. Well, you would think they were crazy if you didn't understand their culture and their religion. See, that's just the thing. They were worshipers of idols, and they took things to extremes. They painted their bodies. They wore these ridiculous costumes. They chanted, they danced, they made sacrifices to their idols. They had built these enormous temples to worship their idols in. It seemed like their entire existence climaxed into this one scenario, this one over-the-top act of worship. You don't really relate, do you? Let's try it again. I was watching TV the other day, and this show comes on with these religious fanatics. They were crazy. See, that's just the thing. They were worshipers of idols, and they took things to extremes. They painted their bodies. They wore these ridiculous costumes. They chanted, they danced, they made sacrifices to their idols. They had built these enormous temples to worship their idols in. It seemed like their entire existence climaxed into this one scenario, this one over-the-top act of worship. Idol worship. It's not just about golden calves anymore.
In a distant past, where the sun rose over untamed lands and humanity had barely begun to script its legacy, a shadow crept silently across the hearts of men and women. This shadow was not of physical form, but of temptation, a whisper that sought to draw their gaze away from the divine. Little did they know that this whisper was the beginning of an age-old scheme orchestrated by the devil. His tools are not of brute force, but subtle and cunning, with the objective to make humans forget their creator and worship false gods of their own making. Picture a time long before recorded history, in the era of the descendants of Noah. The people of this era were deeply moved by the piety and wisdom of their righteous elders. When these men passed away, their absence left an emotional void. It was then that the whisper came: create statues of these men to honor their memory and keep their virtues alive. The people, seeing no harm in this, followed the advice, but over time, the remembrance of these men's virtues faded, leaving only the statues. Generations later, the statues became symbols of reverence and eventually objects of worship. That is how the first idols were born. What began as a seemingly harmless act of remembrance evolved into a spiritual trap. The story of idols is one of adaptation. As humanity advanced, so did the idols. In Egypt, the pharaoh declared himself divine, demanding his people to bow to him as a living god. His tyranny reached such heights that he challenged the authority of God, bringing upon himself and his followers a fate sealed in the Red Sea. In Babylon, Nimrod, drunk on power, sought to defy Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, by building giants' idols to solidify his rule. Across continents and cultures, these idols varied in shapes and forms: golden calves, towering statues, and celestial deities. Yet, they all served the same purpose: to distract humanity from the worship of the one Creator, God. Leaders manipulated this idolatry to consolidate power and to ensure that their rule became synonymous with divine will. The whispers of the devil found strength in humanity's vulnerabilities, whether in grief, ambition, or pride. In the modern world, idols no longer take the form of carved stone or molten gold. Instead, they have transformed into more abstract and insidious manifestations, deeply embedded in our everyday lives. These new idols are born from humanity's desires, obsessions, and misplaced priorities. They emerge in the allure of celebrities, the influence of political figures, the constant glow of addictive screens, and the relentless pull of materialism. While their forms may have changed, their ability to captivate and mislead remains as potent as ever. One of the clearest examples of modern idolatry lies in celebrity worship. In massive stadiums filled with roaring crowds, the names of figures like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo are chanted with a fervor reminiscent of ancient religious rituals. Fans make extraordinary sacrifices, traveling across continents and spending vast sums of money just to witness their idols in action. A goal or a victory evokes tears of joy, while a loss drowns them into collective despair. Jerseys become sacred remains, and debates about the greatness of these players ignite impassioned, committed discussions across social media and beyond. The music industry amplifies this phenomenon further, transforming concerts into quasi-religious gatherings. Crowds raise their hands in unison, swaying to lyrics as if reciting hymns. Artists like Taylor Swift or BTS command immense devotion from their fans, or fandoms, who invest not only their money but their identities in their idols. Fans spend fortunes on tickets, merchandise, and exclusive content while organizing global movements to support and defend their chosen stars. The political field is another stage for modern idolatry. History provides numerous examples of leaders demanding absolute loyalty, often elevating themselves to a godly status. The cult of personality surrounding figures like Stalin illustrates how blind allegiance can flourish, overshadowing truth, justice, and reason. Even today, some political figures are treated with a hero's devotion, their flaws overlooked as their supporters place unshakable faith in their leadership. This form of idolatry redirects attention from moral and spiritual principles to the worship of human power. Consumerism plays its own seductive role. Brands like Apple, Gucci, and Louis Vuitton have transformed their products into symbols of identity, success, and status. Consumers often stand in long lines, sometimes overnight, to acquire the latest device or accessory. This relentless pursuit of material possessions leaves many in a cycle of dissatisfaction and anxiety. The momentary happiness brought by these items quickly fades, replaced by a yearning for the next purchase. The spiritual emptiness left by such pursuits only deepens, creating a void that no possession can fill. The spiritual dangers of modern idols transcend cultural and religious boundaries, presenting a universal challenge acknowledged by every major faith. In Islam, the concept of Tawheed, the oneness of Allah, serves as a profound safeguard against idolatry, urging believers to direct their devotion solely to the Creator. Similarly, Christianity's 10 Commandments begin with the unequivocal declaration, "You shall have no other gods before me," emphasizing the rejection of false deities. And like Islam, Judaism too is a monotheistic religion centered on the belief in one God. These modern idols, though intangible and not carved from stones, wield extraordinary influence over human lives, shaping behaviors, priorities, and emotions. Behind their allure lies a cunning forces of the devil himself who masterfully orchestrates these distractions to tempt us away from the eternal. He lures humanity to place trust, love, and energy in fleeting pursuits. These idols have a way of pulling people away from what truly matters, redirecting hearts from spiritual purpose to superficial desires. This makes it all the more crucial to pause, reflect, and recognize the subtle traps laid by this deception. Only through self-awareness, faith, and balanced living, we can consciously resist their grip and reclaim our focus on what is truly meaningful.